So guys, this is part 2 of our 2018 Christmas light display behind the scenes, so to speak. So this is more just about some of the electronics, some of the control boxes running all our display. Hopefully you watched the previous video. If not, I'll put a link to it, which gives a bit of a snapshot of our props, where they're located on the yard, etc. So here's my main control box, so to speak. I normally have the key stashed away. Okay, so I'm utilising a Falcon F48 for my Pixel controller, which then have all the Ethernet cables going down to connectors there, and these are all cables running out to my differential receiver board boxes. Located in those boxes is same as this, a differential receiver board and a 12 volt power supply. Also, I've got mounted inside this main control box, I've got my Raspberry Pi, which I'm using with Falcon Player on it as my show computer. So that has all my audio and all my sequences stored onto it. That's sending the data through my switch here, which then is fed into the Falcon F48. And also there's an Ethernet connector in there which feeds into my Tune 2 sign, and my Megatree. Okay, I have the audio coming directly out of my Raspberry Pi. Some people will say to use a USB dongle. I think the audio's been okay. I've been trying to keep it nice and simple. Speaking of audio, I have a EDM FM transmitter located in this little cryo box located on top. With my main control box. Now this main control box is located right near our front door, and it's away from the weather. It is relatively waterproof once it's all sealed up, but it doesn't get any weather really in here. Also on the door of my main control box I've got all my power boards, which feed obviously some power inside the control box here, but the 240 volt feeds out to my differential receiver boards. One thing which I did have fitted inside my main fuse box is I've had a couple of dedicated power outlets fitted, RCD protected I think they are. They are separate circuits to the rest of my house, so if anything happens, like a trips or anything like that, it won't strip out the rest of the power inside our house. It's just keeps it nice and simple. Oh, there's an overall switch there we can switch off if we decide to. So that's just all nicely located in my main fuse box in my house. Okay, so just talking about the receiver boards. I've got obviously lots of cat cables and 240 volt cables running out. We'll run over to one of the control differential receiver boards here. Now these are located in these ammo crates. I've done a build thread on these and another YouTube video on them. A couple of power supplies mounted in them, a couple of differential receiver boards, a little bit of an F8 power distribution board because I'm power injecting, excuse this wind's bad, into the back of some of these strands on these wall trees. Okay, now I've used a very similar throughout my display for these. I have few of them scattered around. I keep them locked up just to keep some fingers out of them. I've got one almost identical located on that side of the fence, which is feeding those Bosco mini trees, the stars and the outline, giving me lots of room for future expansion over there. I have the one I was just describing. That feeds the wall trees, the house outline, the chroma flakes, and also feeding these spiral trees and stars. The one inside my main control box is feeding the planter boxes, the floodlights, and that 170 node Bosco star up on top up there. It's almost mirrored exactly the same other side of my house. Differential receiver board, ammo box, again feeding those side the props on this side. That allows me to keep my cables nice and short. I've tried to minimise the amount of power injection which I'm using. I'm not using a lot of the outputs, not using a lot of the pixel counts which I could be using, but that will give me some possibility down the track for some future expansion. And then on the right hand side we've got another ammo box that's feeding the trees, snowflakes, etc. And I've got the neighbour firing the lawnmower up next to it. Apologise for the noise. In the centre of the yard, almost exactly the same again as the other builds. Ammo box, 2 power supplies, 2 differential receiver boards, and F8 just for a couple of power injection ports. That's all feeding my leaping arches, my air-seater tube arches, and the sticks and the Raywoo stars, the candy canes, the house outline, and the floodlights. One thing I did have an issue with was with these Raywoo stars on the sticks here. I had to utilise a couple of the Allen Hansen Knoll buffers. Even though they were short leads, these things weren't generating much of a signal out regarding the data. That was causing, because I had them daisy chained into each other. It wasn't a long distance they were trying to travel, but it was just something funny. And Allen Hansen does these awesome little pixel nodes. It's pixel buffer, sorry. The Tune 2 sign, that's a pretty standard setup nowadays. I've done a bit of a discussion on that. That's just got a beagle bone, which has Falcon Player on it. That just has the 240 volt feed going into it to feed the 1.5 volt power supply. And I've got an Ethernet cable going back to my main control box. Okay guys, that's just a quick rundown of my display. I'm going to do a little bit more detail about my Mega Tree in a minute, but it's all been working really well this year so far. Done you early, but hopefully no dramas. I've tried to keep it nice and simple, try to minimise the amount of power injection which I've been doing, and it's all seems to be working very well. Okay, thanks for watching guys, and I do apologise for this wind in the background. If you've got any questions, put them in the comments. See yous.